He tried to save a young Apache girl. What the tribe decided at dawn paralyzed the west. The morning sun rose slowly over the rolling hills of the west, casting a soft golden light over the ranch. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of dry grass and the faint smoke from distant chimneys. John, a rancher in his late 40s, stepped out of his small wooden house, boots crunching on the gravel path. He had lived near the Apache lands for most of his life, learning to respect the traditions of the people who had walked these hills long before him. Life on the ranch was quiet, but hard, filled with long hours tending cattle, fixing fences, and facing the unpredictable challenges of nature. Yet he had always believed that peace and patience were as valuable as strength and courage. That morning, John noticed something unusual. From the hill near the edge of his property, he saw a small figure struggling through the brush. At first, he thought it was a child who had wandered away from a nearby settlement. But as he watched more closely, he realized it was a young girl, no older than 10 or 11. Her clothes were torn, and she looked lost, her eyes wide with fear. She stumbled repeatedly, and it seemed she could barely keep herself upright. Without thinking, John grabbed his wide-brimmed hat, swung it over his shoulder, and started toward her. He knew he had to act quickly. The hills were treacherous, filled with hidden dips, thorny bushes, and sudden drops. Every step he took was careful, but his heart raced with concern. Despair. Who was she? Why was she alone? And most importantly, was she in danger? As he approached, the girl froze, her small body tense. When she saw him, she instinctively stepped back, but John raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no harm. "It's okay, little one," he called softly. "I won't hurt you. Are you lost?" The girl hesitated, her eyes darting to the hills behind him, as if she feared someone might be following. Then she shook her head, her dark hair falling over her face. Her silence made John even more alert. He could tell she had been through something difficult, something that left her scared of strangers. "I'm John," he said gently. "I live just over there." He pointed toward his small ranch house. "You can come with me. I'll make sure you're safe." For a moment, it seemed she might run, but exhaustion won over fear. She took a tentative step toward him. Her small hand reached out, brushing his sleeve, and John felt a pang of responsibility. This was no ordinary situation. The girl needed help, and he was the only one there to offer it. Carefully, he led her back toward his ranch. Every rustle in the grass made her flinch, and John kept talking softly, trying to calm her. He told her about the horses, about the sunrise, and about the quiet life on the ranch. Slowly, her body relaxed, and she started to look at him with cautious curiosity instead of pure fear. When they reached the ranch, John guided her inside. The house was simple but warm. A fire crackled in the small stone fireplace, and the smell of freshly baked bread filled the room. He offered her some bread and water. She took it silently, her fingers trembling slightly. John watched her closely. She ate slowly, glancing around the room as if taking everything in, yet still wary. After she had eaten, John asked again, "What's your name?" The girl finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mika," she said. "Mika," John repeated, letting the name settle in his mind. It was a beautiful name, he thought, soft and strong at the same time. "Mika, do you know where your family is?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. She looked away, as if afraid that showing too much emotion would make things worse. John understood. Children who had been through trauma often protected themselves by holding their feelings inside. He didn't push her. Instead, He simply nodded. All right. We'll figure this out together. He looked out the window toward the hills, thinking about the Apache tribe that lived nearby. He knew their customs were strict, and any interference could be delicate. Yet, he also knew that leaving Mika alone would be far worse. Brash. She needed someone she could trust, someone who would protect her until the tribe could decide what to do. And for now, that someone had to be him. A morning passed slowly. John went about his chores, keeping an eye on Mika as she explored the house, touching the furniture carefully and peeking out the windows. He didn't want to overwhelm her, so he gave her space, speaking only when necessary. Gradually, she began to relax, showing a hint of curiosity rather than fear. She asked about the horses and the chickens, about the fire and the bread. John answered each question patiently, feeling a connection forming between them. Fragile but real. By midday, John realized that he needed to consider the bigger picture. He couldn't keep Mika in his house indefinitely. The tribe would be worried, and he wanted to respect their authority and traditions. But he also knew that approaching the tribe required caution. Any wrong step could make them suspicious or angry. He needed to show that he had acted out of concern, not disrespect. As he pondered his next move, he noticed Mika staring at the window, her eyes distant. "What are you thinking about, Mika?" he asked. She turned to him slowly. I'm scared," she admitted softly. "They might be looking for me." John nodded, understanding her fear. "I know, but I promise, you're safe here." "I won't let anything happen to you." The hours passed, and the light outside began to change, casting long shadows across the ranch. John decided to take Mika outside, hoping that a walk around the property would help her feel more comfortable. She hesitated at first, but eventually followed him, her small hand brushing against his as they walked. The gentle motion reassured her, and for a moment her fear seemed to lift. They walked past the horses, who nickered softly, curious about the new presence. Mika reached out tentatively to touch one of the smaller horses. The animal sniffed her hand gently, and a small smile appeared on her face. John watched quietly, heartened by the sight. It was the first real smile he had seen from her, a glimpse of the brave, resilient child underneath the fear. As the sun began to set, John knew the day was nearly over. But he also knew that this was only the beginning. Mika's presence in his life had changed everything. He had expected a quiet, routine day on the ranch, filled with chores and solitude. Instead, he had found himself caring for a young girl who needed protection, guidance, and kindness. And he was determined to provide it. That night, as the fire crackled and the stars appeared in the clear sky, John sat beside Mika, who had fallen asleep wrapped in a blanket. He thought about the challenges that lay ahead. The tribe's decision would be crucial. Their judgment could affect not only Micah, but also him, as an outsider who had intervened in their affairs. But John had made a choice, and he had to stand by it. He would protect her, no matter the risk. For the first time in many years, John felt a profound sense of purpose. Life on the ranch had always been about hard work and solitude, but now it was about something far more important: trust, courage, and the protection of a life that depended on him. He knew the path ahead would be difficult, filled with uncertainty and danger. Breath. As he gazed at Mika sleeping peacefully, he made a silent promise. He would keep her safe, he would respect her people, and he would face whatever challenges came their way. The West was a place of rugged beauty and harsh realities. And in that moment, John understood that courage was not just about strength. It was about compassion, patience, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of the hills and the promise of a new day. Breaths. And for John and Mika, that day would mark the beginning of a journey that neither of them could have imagined, a journey that would test their courage, challenge their beliefs, and reveal the depth of human kindness in the face of fear. But as the first stars blinked in the night sky, the rancher held hope in his heart, knowing that whatever awaited them in the dawn to come, he would face it with the same determination that had led him to rescue the young Apache girl that morning. Before the sun fully rose, the Apache village was already alive with quiet movement. Smoke curled from small fire pits, and the soft sounds of morning filled the air, birds calling, the rustle of leaves, and the distant murmur of voices. Elders gathered near the center of the village, sitting in a rough circle on blankets and animal hides. The young and strong stayed back, giving space, yet their eyes were fixed on the elders, waiting for guidance. Today was no ordinary day. News had spread quickly that a young girl, Mika, had gone missing and had been found under the protection of a rancher from outside their lands. The elders were wise, their faces lined with years of experience, and their eyes sharp as they considered the matter before them. Among them was old Tahoma, the chief of the tribe, whose voice carried authority, yet calmness. He had lived through many challenges and knew that decisions regarding children were never simple.
Another elder, Red Hawk, was known for his fierce sense of justice and strict adherence to tradition. He believed strongly in protecting the tribe from outside interference.
Tahoma spoke first. His voice was low but firm, and it held the attention of everyone around him.
"The girl has been found," he said. "She is safe, but she is not with us."
"She is with an outsider. We must decide what is best for her and for the tribe." Red Hawk's eyes narrowed. An outsider? Bration. Is his grave down? And he fights. Can we trust him?
How do we know his intentions are pure? Children are sacred.
We cannot allow anyone, even one who seems kind, to take a child from her people. A younger elder, Silver Moon, spoke up in a softer tone. We have to consider the child first. She is scared and alone. The rancher did not harm her. He may have saved her life. Perhaps he acted with a good heart.
The debate went on, rising and falling like the wind across the plains.
Breaths. Some elders feared that involving an outsider could anger the spirits or bring misfortune. Others saw an opportunity to show wisdom and restraint, balancing the tribe's traditions with compassion. Meanwhile, outside the village, John waited near the edge of the hills. He had kept Mika close, knowing she would be safer near him until a decision was made. Breath. Yet he felt a weight on his shoulders. The tribe's decision could change everything. He thought about the girl's frightened eyes, the way she clung to him, and the silent trust she had placed in his hands. He understood that he was now a part of something far larger than himself, a delicate balance between cultures, responsibility, and moral duty. Inside the village, the elders continued their counsel. Tahoma raised a hand, and the voices quieted. We must remember, he said, that the girl is one of us. Her safety is our priority. But we must also honor the ways of the past. This is not only about kindness. It is about wisdom and respect. Breath. Red Hawk leaned forward. And what if this outsider tries to keep her? What if he has other intentions? The girl's family may be waiting, and she may have responsibilities in the tribe that we cannot ignore. Silver Moon replied, We must also consider her feelings, but she is young. She cannot speak for herself fully, but her trust in him shows something. Perhaps she needed protection. Perhaps the spirits guided her to safety.
The council continued for hours. They spoke of tradition, justice, and the child's well-being.
They remembered past incidents, times when outsiders had interfered and caused harm, and times when kindness had created bonds and trust. They knew their decision would set an example for the entire region. The eyes of their people and the spirits they honored were upon them. Finally, Tahoma called for silence. "We will decide," he said, "not out of anger and not out of fear. We will decide with hearts clear and minds wise." Breath. The child's safety comes first. The outsider must understand our ways. Bear. He must show respect not only for her but for the tribe. The elders nodded, and some younger members of the tribe peeked from behind the trees, eager to hear the decision. They all knew that the next word spoken would echo far beyond the village, reaching even the settlements of the west. John, unaware of the exact details of the council, felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. He could sense the presence of the tribe, could almost feel their eyes watching from the hills. He kept Mika close, speaking softly to her, keeping her calm. "Soon, Mika," he whispered. "We'll find out what will happen. No matter what, I'm here for you." As the first rays of sunlight touched the village, a messenger ran toward the edge of the hills, where John stood. The messenger was a young man from the tribe, chosen for his swiftness and reliability. But when he reached John, he slowed to a stop, breathing hard. "The elders have decided," he said. "You will be allowed to care for the girl temporarily, but you must come to the village at dawn tomorrow. The council will speak with you. You must follow our ways and listen." John nodded, relief washing over him. He bowed respectfully to the young man.
"I understand. I only want to protect her and see that she is safe."
The messenger nodded and ran back toward the village, leaving John and Mika alone on the hill. Mika clung to John's side, still frightened, but sensing his relief. "Will they be angry?" she asked softly. John shook his head. "No, Mika. They are wise. They want to make sure you are safe. That is what matters."
That night, John kept a fire burning outside his house. He and Mika sat near it, watching the flames dance and listening to the sounds of the west.
Mika was quiet, thoughtful, and a little tired from the long day. John spoke gently, telling her stories of the land, of the animals, and of times when courage had made a difference. He could see her eyes grow heavy, her fears slowly easing in the warmth of the fire and the safety he provided. As the night deepened, John knew that dawn would bring the council's decision. He thought about the challenges ahead. He understood that the tribe had the final say and that he must respect their judgment. Yet he also knew that he had a responsibility to Mika, who had trusted him completely. The balance between respect for their ways and his duty to protect her weighed heavily on him. At first light, the village awoke. The air was crisp and the hills glowed with a soft golden hue. John led Mika carefully to the edge of the tribe's territory. Children watched silently, and elders observed from a distance, their faces thoughtful and solemn. Thomas stepped forward, his posture strong, his eyes calm but piercing. "You have brought the girl safely," Thomas said, addressing John. "Breath. You have acted with courage, but you must understand our ways. This is not a simple matter." Breath. "She is one of us, and her life is tied to our people. We will speak now and decide what is best." The council gathered around, each elder's expression serious. They spoke of trust, responsibility, and the importance of maintaining balance between their traditions and the reality of the world outside. John listened carefully, nodding respectfully, knowing that every word mattered. He did not speak unless addressed, showing the utmost respect for their authority. After what felt like hours, Tahoma raised his hand. "We have decided," he said. "The girl will remain with the rancher for now, under his protection. But this is temporary. We will continue to watch and guide. The child's safety and well-being are most important. The rancher has shown courage and honor, and he may continue to care for her. But he must obey the tribe's instructions and respect our ways. Any disobedience will change this decision immediately." A murmur ran through the village, some nodding in approval, others showing concern.
Red Hawk stepped forward, his voice firm but accepting.
"This decision is wise. The child will have safety, and we will continue to protect her."
We will also teach the rancher our ways so he can understand the responsibility he carries. John bowed deeply, gratitude and relief filling him.
"I promise," he said. "I will respect your ways and keep her safe. Nothing will happen to her while she is with me." Mika, standing close to John, looked at the elders with a mix of curiosity and caution. She didn't fully understand the weight of the council's decision, but she felt the relief in John's voice, the steadiness in his actions, and the warmth of protection he offered. She clung to his side, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that for now she was safe. The elders nodded, satisfied with the understanding. Tahoma gave one final look at John and Mika.
"This is the beginning," he said. "The journey is not yet complete."
But the path forward will be guided by courage, respect, and care. Let this day be remembered, not for fear, but for the wisdom of our actions.
John took Micah's hand gently. "Come, Mika," he whispered.
Let's return home. You're safe for now, and we'll face tomorrow together. Breath. As they walked back toward the ranch, the sun climbed higher, bathing the hills and the village in light. The decision of the elders would echo across the west, a reminder that courage and respect could bridge worlds, even in the face of fear and uncertainty. For John and Mika, it was the start of a journey filled with challenges, lessons, and hope. A journey that would change both their lives forever. After the council's decision, life seemed calmer on the surface, but John knew the real challenge had only just begun. The tribe had allowed him to care for Mika, but the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. Every glance, every sound, every step outside his ranch reminded him that he was now part of something much bigger than himself. He had saved her, yes, but he also had to navigate a world filled with expectations, suspicion, and unseen dangers. Mika was quiet that morning, still clinging to John's side as they walked among the horses. She had spent the night sleeping better than before, but the events of the past day lingered in her mind. Her small hands fidgeted with the edges of her sleeve as she glanced at John. "Do you think they'll come back for me?" she asked softly, her voice tinged with worry. John knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "They won't hurt you," he said firmly. "The elders are wise. They've made a careful choice. You're safe here with me until they decide what to do next." She nodded, though her eyes betrayed the lingering fear. John understood. Trust was not built in hours or even days. It took patience, consistency, and small acts of kindness, and he was ready to give her all of that. The morning chores went on, and John made sure to involve Mika where he could. She helped gather eggs, fed the smaller animals, and even learned how to groom one of the horses. Each small task built her confidence, and slowly she began to smile more often. John encouraged her gently, never rushing, never forcing her to do more than she was ready for. But the world outside the ranch was not quiet. News of the tribe's decision had spread quickly across nearby settlements. Some townspeople were curious, others suspicious. A few saw John as a hero, someone brave enough to intervene and protect a child. Braces. Others whispered doubts, questioning why a rancher had taken an Apache girl and whether this could lead to trouble. One afternoon, as John worked in the barn, a messenger arrived from a nearby town. The man was out of breath, his horse snorting heavily. "People are talking," he said hurriedly. "They say you've taken a child from the tribe. Some are angry.
Some think you acted rightly, but be careful."
"Not everyone will see it as you do." John nodded, thanking the man for the warning. He was not naive. He understood that the outside world might react unpredictably, but his focus remained on Mika. She was his priority, and nothing else mattered as much. That evening, he sat with Mika by the fire, letting her tell small stories about her life before she came to the ranch. Rasp. She spoke of the hills and the rivers, of her small village, and of the animals she had loved. John listened, asking gentle questions, encouraging her to share her memories. But each story, each word, helped him understand her world and her fears, and in return, helped her feel less alone. But not everything was peaceful. As the days passed, John began to notice subtle signs of concern from some settlers nearby. He saw men riding slowly past the ranch, watching. Their eyes were sharp, their expressions skeptical. He knew they had heard of the girl and the tribe's decision, and he understood their curiosity and their potential judgment. One afternoon, as he was repairing a fence near the edge of his property, a rider approached. It was a lawman from a neighboring town, a serious man with a weathered face. "I've heard about the girl," he said bluntly.
"We need to make sure she's safe, but the tribe's authority is strong. I hope you understand the responsibility you've taken."
John met the man's eyes steadily. "I understand," he said.
"I'm not trying to defy anyone. I'm just keeping her safe until the tribe decides what comes next."
"That is my promise." The lawman nodded slowly, respect and caution in his eyes. "Very well. But remember, eyes are watching, and the world is not always kind to those who act outside expectation." John knew this all too well. Every day brought new challenges, but he refused to let fear rule his actions. He focused on Mika, teaching her small lessons about life on the ranch. He showed her how to care for animals, how to find water, how to move carefully in the hills. These were lessons not just for survival, but for trust, confidence, and the courage to face the unknown. Mika began to open up more with each passing day. She laughed when the younger animals stumbled, or when John accidentally dropped a bucket of water, and she asked questions about everything she saw. Slowly, a bond formed between them. A quiet, unspoken understanding that grew stronger with every shared moment. Yet the shadow of uncertainty lingered. John knew the tribe would be watching closely. Every action he took would be noticed. Every decision mattered. And he also knew that not everyone in the West would accept the unusual situation without doubt or concern. One evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, John noticed a small group of riders approaching from the distance. His heart tightened, but he did not panic. He had faced dangers before, but this situation required care and tact. He instructed Mika to stay inside the house while he went to meet them. The riders turned out to be concerned townspeople, curious but not hostile. They asked questions, expressing their worry for both Mika and John. John answered patiently, explaining the circumstances, the tribe's decision, and his promise to protect her. Slowly the tension eased, and the townspeople left with a better understanding, though whispers and curiosity would continue for days. That night John sat by the fire, reflecting on the challenges that lay ahead. He thought about the tribe's wisdom, the judgments of outsiders, and the delicate balance he had to maintain. But he also thought about Mika, her courage, her curiosity, her growing trust in him. Protecting her was not just a duty. It was a purpose that gave meaning to every action he took. Brr. As days turned into weeks, John and Mika's routine became steady, though never without vigilance. They walked the hills, tended the animals, and shared quiet moments of laughter and storytelling. Mika learned to ride a horse slowly under John's careful guidance, and she discovered small joys in the simplicity of ranch life. John watched her transformation with quiet pride, understanding that safety was not only about protection, but also about nurturing courage and confidence. However, life was never without tests. One afternoon, while checking the fences near the edge of the property, John spotted tracks in the dust. They were not animal tracks. They were human. Rasp. Someone had been walking near the ranch, observing. John's heart sank, knowing that curiosity could easily turn into trouble if the wrong person discovered Mika. He returned quickly to the house, ensuring that she was safe inside and that every door and window was secure. That evening, he spoke gently to Mika.
We have to be careful, he said. Not everyone understands what is happening, and some may not respect your safety as they should.
But I will protect you, no matter what.
Mika nodded, trusting him completely.
I know, she whispered. I'm not afraid when I'm with you. Those words touched John deeply. He realized that trust was now fully established, that the bond between them was strong enough to face the uncertainties ahead.
Yet, he also knew that the challenges were far from over.
The world outside the ranch would continue to react to the tribe's decision, and new obstacles would inevitably appear.
As the sun set, casting long shadows across the hills, John prepared for the night, keeping a careful watch over the land and over Mika.
He knew that each day brought new lessons, both for him and for her. And he understood that courage was not just about facing immediate danger. It was about enduring uncertainty, showing patience and making decisions guided by wisdom and care. In the quiet moments before sleep, John reflected on the journey so far. He had acted to save a child, faced the unknown, and earned the tentative trust of a powerful tribe. But the journey was far from over. The West was a place of rugged beauty and unpredictable challenges, and he knew that the decisions made by others, outsiders and insiders alike, could change everything. Risks. Yet, despite the risks and the unknowns, John felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. He had found a life more meaningful than any he had known on the ranch alone.
Protecting Mika, teaching her, and ensuring her safety had given him a mission that no hardship could diminish.
Breath. And as he watched her sleep peacefully, he silently promised that he would continue to face every challenge, every danger, and every judgment with the same courage and care that had guided him from the moment he first saw her in the hills. The West held its breath, uncertain what the next days would bring. But for John and Mika, each sunrise brought a renewed sense of hope, resilience, and trust, a bond that no outside force could easily break, and a story of bravery that was only just beginning to unfold. The morning dawned slowly, with soft golden light spilling over the hills. John woke early as he always did, checking on Mika first. She was still asleep, her small chest rising and falling steadily. He watched her for a moment, feeling the deep responsibility that rested on his shoulders. The council's decision had been temporary, and the tribe would be observing every action carefully. Today, he knew, might bring new challenges, or final clarity. Back after breakfast, John and Mika prepared to visit the tribe's village. Mika's small hand slipped into his, and he could feel her fingers tighten slightly as they walked together. "Are you nervous?" he asked gently. Mika shook her head. "A little," she admitted. "But I trust you." John smiled softly. "Good. That's all that matters. We face it together, The journey to the village was quiet. The hills rolled past, their familiar shapes comforting Mika. Birds called from the trees, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers and earth. John kept her close, speaking softly about the land, about the animals, and about the importance of respect and patience. He knew that today their actions would be observed, and he wanted Mika to feel confident, safe, and calm. As they approached the village, the elders were already gathered in the center, waiting. The sun had climbed higher, casting light on their serious faces. Dao! Tahama, the chief, stepped forward. His presence was calm but commanding, and John felt the weight of his gaze. "You have returned," Tahama said. "The child has been safe with you, and you have shown patience and care. Today, we will speak of the future and the path forward." Red Hawk, standing beside the chief, added, "We will consider her well-being, the trust she has placed, and the respect you have shown. But this matter is delicate. The West is watching, and the tribe's actions must honor tradition as well as justice." John nodded. "I understand," he said. "I have only sought to keep her safe."
I am ready to follow your guidance and respect your decisions. The elders exchanged glances, their expressions thoughtful.
Silver Moon, the younger elder, spoke with a soft but firm tone. "The child has been cared for and nurtured by you. She has learned safety and trust. She has not been harmed. We recognize that you acted with honor, but the tribe must consider what is best for her future." Mika stood quietly, her small hand still in John's. She could feel the tension, the serious tone in the air, and the importance of the moment. Though she did not fully understand every word, she understood that her safety and her life would be shaped by what was decided here. Tahama raised his hand, signaling for silence. "We have observed carefully," he said, Brit. "We have seen patience, care, and courage. The child is safe, and her spirit has grown under the protection she received. But this path is not only about safety. It is about life, responsibility, and trust." Red Hawk stepped forward. "The tribe must honor tradition, yet recognize courage outside our borders. The girl's well-being must be preserved, and the bonds she has begun to form are real. We must consider all these factors." The elders spoke quietly among themselves, weighing their options, discussing the responsibilities, and considering the consequences. After a long moment, Tahoma turned back to John and Mika. "We have reached a decision," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The child will remain under your care for the foreseeable future. We recognize your courage and the safety you have provided, but you must continue to act with respect for the tribe. Follow our guidance and maintain transparency with our elders. You are entrusted with her protection, but not her ownership. This is temporary, until she can safely return or until a long-term plan is agreed upon." John felt a wave of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," he said earnestly. "I promise to honor this trust and to protect her with all I have." The elders nodded, approving his words. "We will continue to watch," Tahama said. "We will provide guidance when needed." "But today you have proven that courage and respect can guide the way even across boundaries." Mika's eyes widened slightly. She looked at John and whispered, "Does this mean I can stay with you?" John knelt beside her, brushing her hair from her face. "For now, yes," he said softly. "You are safe, and we will face each day together." The relief was clear on her small face. She had feared judgment, anger, or rejection, but instead she found understanding, patience, and respect. For the first time in many days, she felt hope and security. The villagers watched silently, their expressions a mixture of approval, curiosity, and cautious respect. The decision would be remembered as a sign of balance between tradition and compassion, showing that wisdom could embrace both respect for the tribe and recognition of courage from outsiders. After the council, John and Mika returned to the ranch. Life slowly settled into a new rhythm, one built on trust, care, and responsibility. John continued teaching her, showing her the ways of the land, the habits of the animals, and the skills needed to survive safely in the West. Mika grew more confident each day, exploring the hills and forests with careful curiosity, learning to ride a horse and finding joy in small adventures. The outside world continued to watch and whisper, but John paid little attention to speculation. His focus remained on Mika, ensuring her safety and nurturing her spirit. The bond between them deepened, built on shared experiences, quiet conversations, and acts of care that required patience and thoughtfulness. Breaths. Weeks passed, and the village continued to check on Mika's progress. Elders would visit occasionally, sharing advice, guidance, and stories of the tribe's wisdom. John welcomed these visits, knowing that cooperation and understanding were key to preserving trust and respect. Mika began to understand more about her people, their traditions, and their values. She learned patience, respect, and the strength that came from being part of a community, even one she had been separated from. One day, a messenger from the town arrived with news. "The settlers and the nearby ranchers are speaking of your courage," he said. "Your actions have shown bravery and wisdom. Many are inspired by what you have done."
John nodded silently.
He was not seeking recognition. His reward was in Mika's safety, her growing smile, and the trust she placed in him. Yet, he could not deny that it was gratifying to see others acknowledge the courage it took to act rightly in the face of uncertainty. As the weeks turned to months, Mika flourished. She learned to read small signs in the land, the tracks of animals, the signs of approaching weather, and the ways of the plants that grew in the hills. John guided her carefully, always emphasizing patience, observation, and respect for life. She became confident in her steps, yet always mindful of the lessons of caution and awareness he had taught her. The tribe's involvement remained steady but unobtrusive. Elders would visit periodically, sharing stories, checking her well-being, and offering guidance. Their presence was gentle yet firm, a reminder that she was still connected to her roots, her culture, and her people. Mika embraced these lessons with curiosity and respect, blending her life at the ranch with the teachings of her tribe. John watched her closely, marveling at her courage and resilience. The girl he had found lost and frightened in the hills had become a thoughtful, curious, and brave child. Her trust in him had grown, and in return he had learned patience, compassion, and the power of quiet courage. Together they had navigated fear, uncertainty, and the challenges of bridging two worlds. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned shades of gold and pink, John and Mika sat outside the house.
She leaned against him, her small hand resting in his. "Thank you," she whispered.
John smiled softly. "For what?" "For saving me and for teaching me," she said. "I'm not scared anymore. I feel safe. I feel like I belong."
Breaths.
His heart tightened with emotion. "You always belonged," he said gently.
"I just helped you see it."
As the west settled into night, the fireflies danced across the hills, and the stars appeared in the sky.
But John reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from the moment he found her alone in the hills, to the tense council with the tribe, to the challenges they had faced together. Each step had been guided by courage, patience, and respect for life. The story of Mika and John would be remembered in the region not as a tale of conflict, but as a story of understanding, bravery, and the quiet power of doing what is right. It was a story that showed that courage could cross boundaries, that trust could be built even in uncertain times, and that compassion could bridge worlds in ways that fear never could.
For John and Mika, life continued on the ranch, filled with learning, exploration, and shared moments of laughter and reflection. The bond they had formed was strong and lasting, a testament to the resilience of trust, the importance of courage, and the enduring power of kindness.
And as the stars shone over the hills, both of them understood that the journey they had taken together had changed them forever. They had faced fear, uncertainty, and judgment, yet they had emerged stronger, wiser, and united. The West might remember the story as one that paralyzed the region with surprise, but for John and Mika, it was a story of hope, belonging, and the quiet strength of two lives intertwined by courage and care.